Good morning. Sorry that I kept you waiting. Just landed from Israel and there was a delay, and that's why I'm a bit late. I'm not that sure that my vocabulary is rich enough to express how I feel. My heart is torn apart because the Jewish community, the Australians of Jewish faith, the Jewish community is also my community, my people. The people that were brutally murdered here are people that I've known, I've met. And I'm here today, first and foremost, to be here with my friends, my community, with Rabbi Wolf, Rabbi Slovin, Rabbi Feldman, with my dear friend Alon Kasuto, Alex Rifchin, David Osip. They're all brothers. And I'm here with them in this very, very difficult time. Never experienced such a time. For the last 4 years, I was very clear. And I was very clear about the dangers of the rise in antisemitism. In my public statements, I mentioned and I shared my concerns about the rise in general and after October the 7th in particular. What one can expect when graffitis are painted all over Australia, on synagogues, buildings, public buildings, calling for the death of Israel, death to the IDF. And then cars are put on fire. I visited every synagogue that was attacked. Arson attack in Melbourne, Hadass Synagogue, the Eastern Melbourne Synagogue, here in Sydney, the synagogue in Newtown, the Southern Sydney Synagogue. And for those of you who don't remember, the Southern Sydney Synagogue was already attacked in 1991 and 1993. I don't know when was the last time that you spoke to the Australian students of Jewish faith. Nearly in every campus there is a so-called dedicated building where the Jewish students can study in a more secure atmosphere. This is insane. And it's also very important to remember that when we're talking about the Jewish community, we're talking first and foremost about Australians, Australian citizens. From here, I would like to convey our heartfelt condolences to the community, to all Australians, and to join the community in their call to the government to take all necessary measures to make sure that the life of every Australian, whether a Jew, a Muslim, or a Christian, will be safe. Thank you. And of course, would like to pay my respect to the 15 member of our beloved community, 10 years old Matilda, Holocaust survivor Alex. He survived the Holocaust, the atrocities of the Nazis, just to be murdered here in this beautiful, place, Bondi Beach. Think about it. Rabbi Eli, that led the Chabad community, as the distinguished rabbis that are behind me are doing on a daily basis. They are the beacons of our community. I'll never be able really to fully understand how they feel today and every day since October the 7th and even before. And I'm not here to speak on their behalf. I'm speaking on my behalf. I'm not representing the Jewish community. I'm representing the state of Israel, the state of the Jewish nation.
Given those fears you had, those deep fears you had, given those warnings you made, for this now to have happened, what is the feeling that leaves you with, given you had these concerns?
Well, I hope that the tomorrow will be better than the yesterday, and I hope that all necessary measures will be taken in order to make sure that the life of the Australians of Jewish faith will be secured.
What are those measures?
Well, it's education. It's first and foremost because it's needed enhanced security measures, even though on a personal basis I believe that it's needed. Although I believe it's needed, it's not the answer. The only community that is in need to go through security in order to exercise their right to worship their God is the Jewish community. I don't know when was the last time that you visit a temple, a church, or a mosque. The doors are open. Only the Australians of Jewish faith are forced to worship their gods behind closed doors, CCTV, guards. It's insane. This is really insane. And by the way, it's not my warning. If you'll go back and you will check what some of your security organization leaders have said about the threats that Australia may encounter, they were very clear.
Is there anything you think the Prime Minister hasn't done that he should have done?
Well, I'm not here to comment on the Prime Minister nor on the government. I'm here to, as I said, to support the community. I'm sure that the community is engaged in a very close exchange with the government officials, whether the federal or the New South Wales government. Premier Means is very receptive, very cooperative. I'm going to see him today, right after the meeting here. He's a dear friend to the community, and I'm sure that all necessary measures will be taken.
Israeli Prime Minister, your Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, was absolutely scathing about Anthony Albanese and his government and his role leading up to this. What is the feeling among Israelis and the Israeli government about what's happened here?
Caroline, yesterday I just came back from Israel, and the terrible news surprised me as they surprise every citizen here in Australia, but also every citizen in Israel. The whole day of Sunday and yesterday, Ilana, my spokesperson, was interviewed by nearly every Israeli media platform. That was the only story in the news. And today, when you will meet an Israeli in Israel and you will tell him that you are from Australia, I guess that the questions that you will be asked are not about the beautiful beaches of Bondi, the surfing, the kangaroos. The immediate reaction will be, what the hell is going on here?
Do you think that the Israeli Prime Minister made those comments condemning Prime Minister Anthony Albanese in the hours after the terror attack? They should have waited until a little bit later?
Again, I will repeat what I said before. I'm not here to point fingers. I'm here to embrace. I'm here to hug the community, to hug the Australian citizens that care about life here in Australia and care about the Australians of Jewish faith.
Have you spoken to Benjamin Netanyahu since he made those comments?
I am not going to comment on my personal engagement with my leaders.
We'll take one last question.
What do you have to talk to Christmas about today?
Well, I'm going to hug him because I know that for him it's as painful as it is for every member of our community here. And he was generous enough to call me in times of need and to share his sympathy and his support, and I'm going to do today the same.
Can I take the opportunity to firstly thank the ambassador for his tireless commitment to both Australia and the Jewish community. This has been one of the most challenging years, the last 2 years, for any Israeli ambassador, and certainly in Australia. And this is something that everybody in this country appreciates, and definitely the Jewish community. But I would continue to echo what the ambassador said. There's no place for evil in this country. And anyone who has that in their heart, they should be shown a way out of this place. The way to combat anti-Semitism, we have unfortunately learned, is not to rely on government, is not to rely only on government, because this is actually not a time to criticize anyone. We're here to try to build bridges. Our dead have yet to have been buried, and there are loved ones that are critically fighting for their life in ICU units. This is a time to remind the Australian community that the only way we can eradicate anti-Semitism is not to wait for another press conference from a commissioner, from a premier, from a member of politics, but for mothers and fathers to sit down with their children at a dinner table and to say that words of hate, words of evil, bigotry have no place in our home, have no place on a university campus, have no place on social media. And anyone who hears someone make a comment like that, if you're sitting at a cocktail party, at a bar, if you're sitting on a beach, stand up and face that person and say, this is a country where we have always welcomed minorities. This is a country where we want to celebrate minorities. This is a place where we want you to be able to show the people in this world what you represent. We don't want you to be like me, because if you're going to be like me, who's going to be like you? We want everybody to be able to represent their religion, and together we will have a harmonious, beautiful, great Australia. And that has to change, and it has to change from bottom up. People like this have been calling. It's unfortunately, no one's heeded. People haven't listened. It's time for grassroots, for families, for parents, for children to make a difference, and we're going to change the tide. This is a big wake-up call. This is not an attack only on the Jewish community. This is an attack on every Western-thinking person in this country, anybody who has value for life, anybody who appreciates that every human being has been created in the image of God, and that is for Jew, non-Jew, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist. I don't care what religion you come from. You represent a child of God, and you should be protected, and you should not have to fear your life or walk around thinking, if I'm wearing a kippah or if I'm wearing a Star of David, someone wants to kill me. No one's going to hunt you down on a beach in Australia, because if there are people who want to do that, they don't belong in this country.
I just want to thank Rabbi Wolf for his strong leadership of this community and for his friendship, and of course Ambassador Maimon for his incredible friendship to our community. Ambassador Maimon is not just a dear friend to the Jewish community, but to all Australians, and we are fortunate to have a leader of his caliber here among us. I also want to say that we woke up yesterday morning and this morning, and parents across our community held their children tighter. And they held their children tighter because we heard of 10-year-old Matilda who lost her life, and she could have been any one of our daughters. I've got a 5-year-old daughter. I've got a 9-year-old son. It could have been any one of us who lost our children or our parents or our loved ones This is what happens when demonization and words of hatred are allowed to fester for 2 years. This is what happens. Words matter and silence matters. And when good people stay silent and when there is a vacuum of leadership, it inevitably leads to violence. And that is why every single person in our community has been saying, we are devastated, we are heartbroken, and yet we are not surprised. This is the inevitable eventuality when evil is allowed to fester for 2 years. And now, it is a watershed moment for our nation. We need to stand up, we need to stamp out this evil, and instead of distancing ourselves from the one democratic nation that has been able to effectively deal with terrorism and extremism, the State of Israel, Australia should be bringing Israel closer and learning from Israel how to deal with the threat of fundamentalism, of extremism, and of hatred. That is what should happen right now. Australia and Israel should stand side by side, realizing that the two vile monsters who stood on that bridge over there and plucked off Jews for 10 minutes straight with their shotguns are the same type of monsters as the 3,000 monsters and terrorists who invaded the south of Israel on October 7th. And let's not mince words. This is the worst terrorist attack on Jews anywhere in the world since October 7th, 2023, and it happened on that bridge over there. This is the worst massacre since Port Arthur over 3 decades ago in Australia, and it targeted Jews. This is a wake-up call for our nation to stand side by side with its Jewish community and side by side with the State of Israel.
I'd just like to add, and it's very emotional for me to have Ambassador Maimon back here. He came to visit our synagogue in Newtown in January, where we were attacked, graffitied, there was attempted arson, and he came and showed his support. And he's been talking very loudly and very clearly this entire year, for anyone who could listen, that what started off with graffiti is going to end up with bodies, and it's exactly what's happened. And no one can say they weren't warned. I also want to say, because my ambassador said it, the Jewish community said it, our leadership was saying it, Rabbi Wolf was saying it, everyone was saying it, and no one was listening. I'd also like to say, my name is Rabbi Eli. There's another Rabbi Eli who's dead today, who was here on Sunday, gunned down, who for the past 20 years put up a big menorah in this very place to spread light. Hanukkah, we're celebrating Hanukkah now. Hanukkah is the holiday of light. We light a candle, and then we light another candle. And there's only one way, as Rabbi Wolf said, there's only one way to stamp out darkness, and that's with light. Hatred, bigotry, evil, that's darkness. And the Australian people need to combat that with light to each other, with light to someone else, no matter the color of their skin or what they believe. We're all, as the Bible tells us, we're all created in the image of God. Every single human being is created in the image of God. Let's love each other. Let's care about each other. And as Rabbi Wolf said, if someone says on social media, oh, the Jews, it's all their fault, you know what's been on Reddit yesterday? How could any Australian, I mean, I'm a fourth generation Australian. I'm proud of this country. But I said on ABC TV before, they said, some of you are criticizing the media. And I said, you know what? The answer is found right there. We've got an Australian flag and we've got an Israeli flag, because our connection to our ancestral homeland is part of who we are as Jews, and let's not separate the two. And finally, I'd like to say as follows. Rabbi Eli was like a brother to me. He's got the same name. He was like a brother to me. I knew him for 25 years. I studied together with him when we were teenagers. What he would say right now is add in light. Do another mitzvah. If you're a Jew, be more Jewish, as Rabbi Wolf said. Wear your kippah, wear your Star of David. Be proud. Don't let the buggers win. We're going to be proud of who we are, and that's what good Aussies would say. Be proud of who you are. Don't water down your identity for the sake of being scared of what other people are going to say or do. But in addition, what Rabbi Eli would say is that not just for Jews, but for every single Australian, be more godly. We're created in the image of God. Let's all act in the image of God. Let's love each other. Let's care for each other. And finally, I'd like to say something, and that is that he's got a widow. He's got children who don't have a father today. I sat with his father-in-law, Rabbi Ullman, who you know very well, yesterday. You're going to see Rabbi Ullman now. Rabbi Ullman is one of the most beloved rabbis, not just in Australia, but throughout the world. He was crying yesterday. And he said, I've got the worst possible thing that I need to do that any father would have to do. I've got to sit with my grandchildren and tell them that their father has been taken from us. There are widows, there are orphans. I'm heading from here straight to the ICU at St. Vincent's for a mate of mine who I've known for decades, who was gunned down here on Sunday, and his father was killed. And he's got his mother sitting there with a husband who's dead and his son in the ICU. And that, as a rabbi, I've got to go, my mate's been killed, he's my mate, and I've got to go and be there for support for him. We all need to be support for each other. The Australian people need to step up. I've spoken to government, state government, federal government to support the victims, but I'm speaking now to the Australian people. There's a website that's been set up, okay? www.charitycharidy.com/support Sydney. I'll say it again. www.charitycharidy.com/support Sydney. For those widows, for those orphans, let's step up and let's make sure that my friend who I'm going to see now is not going to have to worry about how she's going to pay her rent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amir thank you for being here. Amir,